Hi there, welcome back to another episode of the BARROW Podcast. A main episode as we cruise through childhood trauma. I think we covered, so what did we do? We talked about like early access and some of that and feelings of abandonment, and then I've also talked about step families
Yep.
and sort of feeling replaced. Not to get too sort of out of order, but before we go on and off the back of talking about trauma, developmental trauma, let's just stick with the early years after my father left. The first relationship that he was in
Was toxic.
was really, really toxic. I think I might have mentioned that I kind of witnessed some domestic violence. There was other stuff going on as well. And, my experiences of that time were really, really horrific. And they have kind of shaped my interior world and caused lots of problems for me down the line. It's something I still think about, frequently. I almost daily. I think that period of time. So I was taken to like a rural, remote property, and then the person that my father was with, let's assign a letter to him. We'll call him X. Does that work? We'll call him X.
Yeah, I think it's going to work.
Because, well, X was kind of like super abusive. And he was abusive towards you. He was always calling up and he was verbally and threatening. Yeah. And at this point, we've also covered This House of Grief by Helen Garner as well. And the way that children become like effigies, they become an object upon whom frustration is taken out on. And like you have
as a way of revenge and
revenge against the woman,
making a statement against the mother,
making a statement against the mother, but also I think perhaps making a statement against society,
the world.
Yeah, I think
in their own twisted way.
I believe so. I feel that way, and
it's the world's wronged me attitude.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but there was an atmosphere between my father and X of like there was some insecurity and but there was so much anger, and a lot of the anger and the animosity was directed at me. Like I would be there only for a very short period of time, but in that window of time, it was almost like I could be treated however they wanted. And I still can't understand why. I think there's like a weakness there. Like when you have wounded people who are very weak, they can become very nasty.
And someone's got to bear the brunt of it, even a tiny little child.
But I look back on it and like what I represented.
Yes,
like,
that's what I was going to say.
Like I was a pretty boy. I was an attractive little dolly boy, right?
Yeah.
Is that true, would you say?
Yes, you were beautiful.
I was very beautiful, and I was androgynous. Lots of people thought I was a girl.
Because, we let your hair get longer.
So there was a lightness to me, and I also think I represented a child that is loved, whereas they were not.
This is all very creepy.
Yes, well, my research has revealed that X was sent to a boarding school.
Right. You did find out some background,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Which explains some of the kind of psychological games and the bullying and the... Because it was like being at a horrible boarding school when I was with them.
Right. Yeah, bullying, being isolated in your room.
Well, not to sort of just list off horrors, but I it was a horrific period of time. So to describe it, to explain it, like on this isolated rural property where these two men were engaged in some really odd business ideas. One included breeding sausage dogs, literally. No surprises that they would go bankrupt. They were breeding sausage dogs. They had a bunch of very lame trotter horses, and they also had a sweets store, a candy shop that
your father delivered to, and not only were you in the car for quite a lengthy journey up to this property, you were then in the car delivering these things. That I had
totally forgot about that. Yeah. So look, these guys were not savvy. They weren't clever, and my father seemed to mostly be controlled by X during that period of time. Yeah. And all the money that he had gotten in the divorce settlement went into fueling X's business ideas and ventures and random, it was all very random.
Squandered.
It was squandered in the end, yeah. And I mean, so you had these two losers, two very angry losers, living in a house, surrounded by dogs. There were dogs everywhere on that property. I mean, there was a big shed of dogs, like a big puppy mill almost. It was horrible. And then you had all the bigger dogs that roamed around the property, and you had like healers and...
Oh, that's just so frightening, that alone.
There were some healers, there was a Rottweiler, there were all these dogs just free ranging on that property, and I was bitten many times by dogs. And again, I mean, I'm 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And so I was just in a terror physically. Like, I didn't want to go there because I was scared of what would happen. And so I was bitten. I was often left in a car or left in a locked room. I was often not fed. You know this. Don't act like you don't know this and react to any of this stuff. I sometimes was not fed. And the other physical kind of stress or de-stress thing that distressed me was that I was often left or dumped with strangers. So even though I was with... It was a short period of time, like it wasn't even a full 48-hour weekend. My father would still manage to find someone to palm me off onto.
Right, so were they friends? Were they neighbours?
I have no idea. Like, right. I mean, they could be anybody. I was left in a fish and chip shop out the back next to the fryer all day, one day. I was left on another woman's property. I was just always left. And so, we talk about my abandonment stuff and my fears and how I later freaked out. It all goes back to that time. It goes back to being palmed off all the time.
What was the state of the house itself?
It was not nice. It was filled with dogs. Like it was disgusting. And yeah, no, it was squalid. And so like, that's my memory of that physical environment, right? And then on top of that, you had X, who was like extremely violent, and always enraged, always screaming, always kicking things. He was just crazy. Plus, you had the smoking. But there was also like these weird kind of psychological games. Like I've talked about, like my father's attitude towards me, which started really early after he left. He started cultivating you're Mr. Special, you're Mr. Prince, you're a prince, everyone cares about you. Like this kind of weird distancing, emotional distancing, but also like kind of bullying. Like it was always a
well, it was an attitude.
I can't describe that attitude properly. I can never do it sufficiently.
Yeah, but it was an attitude that allowed him to separate from you.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, emotional distancing. But it started really early. It was like he just cultivated this idea that, and again, it was like to skirt any accountability for my welfare. So it was like, he gets everything he wants. He's always perfect. That nothing can harm him.
This was pure hatred, really, because
it was jealousy.
You represented me, you represented my family, you represented even though he'd left, you represented a better life.
Well, so this is this interesting thing, right? And I tried to sort of get at it in the when I addressed step families. But like, there are class and intellectual differences between people.
Yeah.
And the way that they can play out sometimes is like they kind of manifest in throwaway remarks and various things. And I seemed to him, which tells you what he thinks about himself, I represented something in your words that was better. And there just seemed to be this attitude of, well, you're one of those people. Like, I can't relate to you. You're Mr. You're Mr. Privileged. Even though I'm a child, it was bizarre.
Yeah, but also just vicious. And it's so hard to explain. It's really weird because that turning away from what had been offered to him, it was like, he had benefited from this better life. He'd benefited from these people. Yeah. So
I don't know what you're saying.
So he had benefited from that lifestyle, which now he is
completely removed from.
Yes.
And it is night and day. So he goes from being part of a family and owning his own house, which would never have happened without the help of your parents.
And my grandparents.
And so he's a property owner, he's got a respectable middle class job, he's got all these things.
Yes.
And he walks away not just from a family, but he walks away from an entire existence and state of being to take up this really squalid life.
Yeah.
Which is, like, it's a dramatic, like, it can't be understated how dramatic. He drops maybe 6 social rungs overnight. Like, he goes from, as I say, a middle-class professional lifestyle and property owner with a wife and child to not being able to make ends meet on inside a house covered in dog hair and shit, and selling toffees out of the back of his broken down car. I mean, it's a dramatic turn for the worse.
Yes, and in that process.
But can I say, but he's chosen it.
That's what I mean.
That's the thing that you're scratching your head.
But in that process, or actually almost immediately, there's an enormous hatred for what he's left behind and what represents what he's left behind.
Yeah.
And can I just mention there something that I find out later when I'm, talking to people about did they have any knowledge?
Yeah.
A thing that really stands out, some close friends of ours, and they were so supportive of me and you, and they also knew my parents. They socialised with my parents, through the marriage. They were so disturbed by his immediate attitude of boasting. Ha! I've just left them. I've got them.
He said that'll show him.
Yeah.
That was what was quoted back to you. So what Mum's trying to recollect there is, so my whereabouts had to be accounted for on that evening when I was staying on overnight stays. And obviously I'm a little boy and I have a curfew. He broke every rule.
Yeah.
So you had all the smoking stuff, which was really oppressive. But he would constantly break these curfew rules. Like, little kids need to be in bed at a certain time. I mean, we it's just obvious because their head is hitting the table at 7 o'clock, you know. So I would be taken, and this is, well, I'll get into that later, but I would get taken to parties and just be up for eternity. And, so I was always physically distressed.
Yeah.
Lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of safety, all that sort of stuff. But he goes to this sort of dinner party with these friends who are good people and are respectful of, me having a curfew and my needs. And basically the woman calls you the next day and says, look, he was here with your son last night, which you find that out and immediately are like, he never mentioned that. Yeah. He's not meant to be, like, he told me he was going to be in one place and now he's in another. So that's strange enough.
Yeah.
But then she goes on to describe this horrible experience that she's had with him where she says that Toby's lovely, but his father shows no connection or affection for him. And throughout the course of dinner, was boasting about what he'd done
Yeah.
to you and your parents, which is, I've left them, that'll show them.
Yeah.
And I think the phrase that she repeated that he couldn't stop repeating was, there's a fox in the hen house now, there's a fox in the hen house. He kept saying that. So he was really sort of pumping his fist, celebrating the downfall of these horrible people, which is his wife, his child, and his former parents-in-law.
Yeah, and she was actually...
She was shocked.
But she was also challenging him because, sort of saying, well, you've just left them. They must be in shock. They must be hurting. And she knows, and she knew my parents. And, I think she was just blown away by the attitude, and
she stopped interacting with him.
Yeah,
after that. She just was like, there's something wrong with this person.
Yeah, and the hatred was visceral.
Yeah, palpable. And so if you think about how odd that behavior is, like, and that is excessive, it's strange behavior. You take that behavior and then you have to understand that attitude is projected onto me when no one's around.
Yes.
So it's, I'm going to show you what it's like to have a fucked up life. And the thing is that this is the rage of an orphan. This is someone who life had not dealt him a kind hand. Instead of being mature about it, his sole desire seemed to be, I'm going to ensure my son experiences at least some of the pain that I have. Yeah. Now, that's the opposite instinct of most parents who want to shield their children from any harm and want to make life better for them.
That's right. If they had it tough, they want to provide opportunities for the child to have, a better experience.
Yeah. And so in this environment with him, if he was like that, then X was doubly like that. And so X really enjoyed my distress. And my memories are of two men taking great delight in depriving me of things, in making life as uncomfortable for me as possible, and sort of, what can we get away with here? All on the premise of, that stupid bitch is going to be so upset when we return her favourite prized possession in the worst condition possible.
Yep.
So it was sort of like
what it was like.
I always have described it in therapy as like vandalism. I was your most prized possession and they were going to vandalize it. That's how it was. That's what it was.
So ominous.
It is extremely frightening to understand that you are in that position emotionally with regard to a caregiver. Like, this person's decided to do this. Now, I'm not the only child to experience this. Like, there's actually a news article that from ages ago, this little girl, Star Hobson, in the UK, she was killed. And she was killed by the mother's girlfriend, who was a trained boxer. And they were having fun, freaking her out and punching her and doing all sorts of things. She was about 3.5 years old. And they punched her to death.
Oh, right.
As a game. And there is something that comes up for certain people in these scenarios that they are so bitter, they are so self-hating and so insecure that they have to deface the objects that represent to them what they can't participate in, or they can't have, or they can't enact for themselves. And so there was a desire to deface me, to vandalize me.
Yeah.
And that happened. That went on for years. And when my father would pick me up, there were many times, and some of my worst memories are about, I would get so nervous the night before that I'd wet the bed, and then I'd be in such a state in the morning not wanting to go that I would resist going. And there are times where you had to physically like remove me from the home to get me in the car with him.
Yes.
But what I remember was when I was most distressed, and you've got to bear in mind that my father is on the record in family court mediation saying he's never upset when he's with me, he's never distressed when he's with me. When I'm most distressed and I'm crying and sobbing and breaking down in front of him, what does he do? He doesn't put an arm around my shoulder. He doesn't ask me what's wrong. He doesn't provide any comfort. What he does is says, he taunts me and he says, you know, don't you want to spend any time with your old man? Oh, am I so terrible, am I? And it's this, again, it's this narcissism and baiting and switching the roles. You know, he will never provide comfort to me. And so even when I'm visibly distressed, and I mean I was visibly distressed every minute I was with him. So any denial of that is pure lie. But he flips that around and makes me guilty and
makes you the tiny little boy responsible.
And he shames me for all this. So dog bites, left with strangers, guilted, you know, deprived of things, like not fed. During this whole time, he's in some sort of like amateur drama group on top of all this. So a lot of my weekends that I am with him, when I'm not dumped on other people or just left in the car, I'm just left in these like halls and backstage and while he does rehearsals and gets ready to do these plays. Now these plays are like, they're terrible, like they're embarrassing. But he is living his best life now, where he's going bankrupt and being an actor in an amateur theatre troupe in regional Australia.
Yeah.
If that's your best life, if that's what you've left your wife and child to do, yeah, maybe have a look in the mirror. But that was the other kind of like kicker in all this, or the icing on the cake, or I don't know what to call it, but like, is that it would go from the sublime to the ridiculous. You would have these sort of horrific experiences, and then it was all right, because at the end of the day you could sit down and watch your father in costume strutting across the floorboards in, you know, the most poorly attended, worst theatre performance imaginable. So it was sort of I think what always got me
culturally uplifting.
What always got me through it was how funny it was. Now, I developed a very dark sense of humour at a very young age.
Yes.
Because I would see this man who treated me the way he did, then get up on a stage and project himself to the world. Like, love me, love me. And I would think, you know, you could be loved if you were a good person. And you're not. You're an egomaniac. You're a psychopath. And I always just thought it was so amazing that he had all the time and energy for that, but not for actually living well or decently. And
how,
you know,
how were you presented to these people?
Oh,
what was it?
His
night and day again.
Night and day. His
again.
most loved, treasured possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's little boy. Look at my little boy. I don't get to see him enough, and yeah. I mean that's the thing is that when other people are watching,
Yes.
I mean, you know, when the house lights go on,
Yes. Yeah, the performance goes
begins,
on.
you know, but you get away from an audience and
then you might be bundled in the car and never spoken to.
You're dealing with a very different thing. Yeah. And so that kind of night and day flip-flop stuff was really insane. And like, yeah, you know, I mean, to bear witness to that, you're just like, well, my brain's broken now. Like, I don't know what people are or what they're meant to be.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, this is always the difficulty in these incidences is that people only witness the particular moment they see. So that group, you know, he's got his little boy with him this weekend, totally. and that's great. They're not going home to the squalor and the scary house.
No.
It's rare. It's always rare that those people show themselves like he did with these friends.
Yeah, that was a slip-up.
That's a slip-up. That's always a slip-up with these people. So then when you try to talk to people about experiences, it is usually so shocking that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this incident, or this ongoing terror for you, is, to all intents and purposes, only been witnessed by a child who will never be able to explain this, because no one will.
Well, who believes children? Remember, that's the quote in So Long See You Tomorrow. Who believes children?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No one does.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know why, because children they can fabricate, but like, children don't just wholesale invent shit.
No, they're speaking to the actual experience. Yeah.
But yeah, or at least when they're talking that, yeah. I mean, anyway, but it's hard to say anything definitive there. But yeah, so there was all that, and then of course there was the kind of sex abuse stuff, which is like, we've never really gotten into it.
You've never really.
But like, X was an opportunistic pedophile as well as violent, and so you had a scenario at that property that was like, dogs that bite, father who is a sociopath, there's something wrong with him, and then you have a violent, opportunistic pedophile. And it's like trying to dodge, like, what's the least worst thing here? You know? And so a lot of my time was spent just trying to find a space to be in, a,
Right away from you.
away from anything. So I have a lot of memories of like walking far away on the property and like just trying to kill, 20 minutes to an hour, like if I can just get through another hour and whatever. And of course, because you get so stressed out, you can't sleep. So my entire experience of these weekends is just counting the minutes.
And being on alert.
Hyper alert to everything. So, the moment I'm picked up at, whatever it was, 10 a.m. Saturday or whatever, it's like the clock starts counting. The counter is on. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, 3.5 hours to get to the property. I've got to endure the smoking and the kind of, whatever. Okay, but at least that's 3.5 hours. Like,
out of the time.
And then I arrive there. Nothing too bad will happen in the first hour. And then, so kind of just try and navigate the day, get out somewhere, find a space to kind of be where I can kind of keep my head on a swivel. Then nighttime's coming. Okay, things tend to get worse now. So and then you kind of white knuckle the whole night and you don't sleep. And then it's 6 and 7 in the morning and the birds are chirping. And it's like, okay, made it to the last day, got to get to the afternoon, which is actually I've got to get to midday because it's another 3-hour drive back, right? So I'm back with you at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So I'm like, okay, now it's 6 or 7 in the morning. I've just got to get through the next 6 hours. Then I'm in the car, and then it's oh, I can relax once I'm in that drive back. I'll be uncomfortable, but I can relax, and then I'm back. And that is how I experienced these access visits, of this state of alarm for that period and breaking down the time, just willing myself through another hour, and breaking it all down. Like, I mean, by midday on a Sunday, I would be beside myself with anxiousness. Like, I would drive my father nuts because I'd be like, we gotta go now. We gotta go. Like, we'll be late if we don't leave now. Like, just absolutely jacked up with anxiety and basically begging to take me home. Like, please, let's go. Please. And like, that's the thing is like, he can't have not known then and can't pretend not to remember now that his child was begging him to take him home by that Sunday, like, and I was like that even to adolescence. I was like, all right, it's 12, let's go. Like, what are we doing? Like, I could not stand a minute with him that wasn't on the clock, that wasn't accounted for. Like, I'm not going to spend 10 seconds with you after my shift ends. Like, like, it's not going to happen. And for me, my whole relationship with my father is purely contractual. For some reason, the family court have deigned that I spend time with you. For some I cannot understand it, but I'm being punished for something I haven't done, and I just have to endure it. But I'm not going to endure more than what I've been served, And that was so obvious. I remember, like, that was the time we would fight is, I'm like, now is the time to get in the car. And he would be like, you can't even wait 2 minutes. And I was like, no, I can't. I don't want to be here. And it's like, and then he would sort of, again, get upset.
I was going to say, do you think that just became a vicious circle because...
Well, he had treated me so appallingly.
I mean, he's taunting you, treating you badly, but then when you show that, it doubles down.
Oh, it doubles down. It's, oh, well, you do hate me. I always said you hated me. Always knew.
Oh.
And it's like, mate, you have fucked this all up yourself because you are a waste of space. That's you. It's not me. It's you. And like, you put this in motion.
Yeah.
The moment I was born.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't want to participate in this anymore. But yeah, I mean, that experience on that property was like haunting. And I the sex stuff, like
You've only ever sort of
yeah, I mean, like I sort of like
hinted at
have
that.
hinted at it. I mean, because it's sort of like you don't really want to like unpack it too much. But there's also stuff that it's like it's difficult to recollect everything, and some people will be like, oh no, you remember every detail, and then other people are like, they feel as if memories are repressed and all sorts of things. I mean, in therapy, I got to a point where I was going to do something called like recovered memory, recovered dream stuff.
Yeah, almost like a hypnosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I got really obsessed with digging into it.
Right.
And then I sort of got to a point of some self-acceptance with it, of like, I remember what I remember, and I kind of know things emotionally, and then I have certain boundaries with what I'm willing to share, and I'm just like, that's enough. I don't need to get certain details and find out that it was worse or somehow not worse than it was. And
you just have this sense.
Oh, it's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't just say that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like I know what happened, and I'm like, and that in itself is another sort of whole creepy thing, because it's like a lot of that felt like, to be honest with you, it just felt like another form of bullying and defacement and vandalism. As I've said, like it didn't even feel like, it's so weird to say this, but it almost didn't even feel sexual. It just felt like, this is another way I can like destroy this person, and like, and basically like another way I can vandalize this thing.
Yeah.
Which is a child.
Yeah. But you instinctively knew that they weren't, I mean, right from when he started taking you, that he wasn't right. He wasn't safe to be around.
He was not in his right mind.
And then, of course, the partner.
Yeah.
And you witnessed X's treatment of him as well.
Yeah, he was violent. I said that. I said I witnessed domestic violence. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like those two were as kind of depraved and out of it as you get. And what's been really hard about telling my story is like this like little hurdle that we've bumped into a few times, which I described all the way back in whenever it was, earlier in the year, which was like the factor of my father's sexuality has made telling the story unnecessarily difficult. Like certain kinds of people have like heard it and have felt as if it courts some sort of homophobia or something to suggest that, or it somehow, I think one of the things I ran into that made me most angry was somebody genuinely suggested that by telling my story, I was doing harm to the cause broadly. And I was like, that is such horseshit, because nobody in their right mind could hear my story. And like, if you heard my story and then projected it onto an entire group of people, you're a bigot in the first place.
That's right.
Like you're somebody with those tendencies to begin with. Like, my story is my own story, and I wasn't treated this way because the men involved were homosexual. I was treated this way because the men involved were fucking horrible people.
Yes.
They were horrible men.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've never... See, the thing is, I have never thought anything other than that.
Yeah.
In my entire life.
That's exactly right.
Like I never... The same-sex relationship never even really registered with me. Like, it was never... I mean, it registered in as much as, I mean, you just observe things, but certainly it never caused me to not want my father to be my father, or to want my father to be another way with regard to that aspect of his life. I really couldn't care less.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be treated with respect.
You wanted to be safe.
I just wanted a father in any form.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's always been the thing with me, where I'm like, no, it all just comes down to whether, and again, you know, like when it comes to things like gay marriage and gay couples adopting children and various things, I'm like, I couldn't care less. It's like the only thing that matters is that the child is loved. Like, whoever you are, nobody can treat a kid the way I got treated in that property.
No.
And if you think that somehow it's excusable because of a factor, or if you think somehow my experience as a child shouldn't be spoken about because you're crazy, you're sick.
Yeah.
That's a sickness.
Yeah.
That's such a weird thing to want. I had this encounter with a woman who said, oh, you know, you really probably shouldn't be talking about this because it's you know, it brings out
people's feeling of
well, there's that old school, I don't really want to
no
get into it too much, but there is a certain old school homophobic thought that associates certain sexualities with perversion, right?
Yeah.
And if I describe my thing and then people find out that the person involved was gay.
Yeah, what she was saying is that adds to the homophobic reaction. But
it's
you're
like,
describing being treated abominably by the man, your father, who was supposed to be taking care of you.
Yeah, and by somebody who I encountered who was, I mean, again, you're talking about somebody who was obviously traumatized and had some sort of damage, right? And that was their story. Their story wasn't their sexuality. Their story was that they were a damaged person.
Yeah.
And you also, at least from my perspective, and I mean, you're talking about two people who, you know, I mean, they were... I mean, I'd love to have them be put under a microscope retrospectively and find out what it was. I mean, it's like, to me, from like a clinical perspective, you're talking about like real sociopathy.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about narcissism, but you're talking about like and so these were obviously formative and incredibly difficult experiences to go through. And I went through them entirely alone.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I did not have siblings. I went out there alone to fend for myself at you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age. Actually, kind of 4, 5, 6. And yeah, I mean, it hijacked these experiences that happened in a window of about 3 or 4 years. They hijacked my internal map and sense of the world and security. I'm 37 and I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, I mean, it's quite a lot what I experienced. And yes, some people endure worse. And my thing to that has always been like, I can't imagine, I mean, you would kill yourself. And that's the thing is like, as I've said about like adoption, you know, if my abandonment wound is this bad, how bad is it for anyone else who experiences something worse? And the same goes for this. It's like, you know, I felt lucky that it was only once a fortnight for 32 hours.
Yeah,
If it was all day, every day like this, as some children
yes,
experience, it's like
they've got that constantly in the home. Yeah,
and the thing, part of the reason I wanted to do this kind of like advocacy stuff is to say, like, you really can't judge anyone. Like, if someone's in prison or they're on drugs or whatever, it's like, or they've lost their mind, it's like, what I went through, I'm like, you could only lose your mind. You could only end up on drugs. You could only end up incarcerated. You could only commit suicide if you experienced worse.
Yeah, of course.
Or even not worse, the same. Because I've struggled to keep my sanity, my sobriety, you know, and you know, like I described it like this, and I'll end with this, right? Was I always describe like trauma as, it's like you're carrying a tray of drinks from one side of the room to the other. But imagine you're in a ballroom and everyone's dancing, and your job is to get from one side to the other with a drinks tray. And if you're lucky, you don't have any drinks on your tray. Like, the drinks are trauma, right? But like, as you move through that room, other people put empty glasses, right?
Yeah.
And like, the more terrible stuff that happens to you, that stack gets bigger and bigger. And so suddenly you're shaking. Good luck getting to the other side of the room without dropping that tray and smashing everything. And what happens when you do is that the music cuts and everybody looks at you and they glare at you. How did you stuff up? And you're looking at the other people carrying trays and you're going, they don't have any on theirs. I was always going to drop mine. It's not fair.
That's such a good analogy.
And
because particularly when everyone just stops and looks at you, and that's what happens.
And they glare. They're so angry that you didn't do your job.
People stop and look at particular behaviours which is being exhibited without thinking there's a reason here.
And that's the thing, is that when I finally crashed, and I really crashed, I was met with no compassion. It was just glares and fire him. Get rid of him. And I'm sort of going, fuck you. Like, this has been a nightmare since I started trying to walk across the room. Like, my tray has been so loaded up here.
Yeah.
I was always going to drop it. And that's the thing. You are fated to fail.
Yeah.
The point isn't
in your life. Yeah.
The point isn't to mitigate that necessarily. The point is to either get the person at the beginning not to cross the room at all, or change everyone else's reaction when they do fail. Yeah. But you will fail. You will crash. You will drop the tray. It's inevitable.
Yeah, there's too many things to deal with.
Yeah, that was my experience. Certainly. I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Is that enough stuff?
That's plenty of stuff.
I mean, I've sort of just touched on all the kind of like big ticket items, I guess, in one thing, because I don't really want to have like a full episode on, you know.
Yeah, no.
But I also apologize if that's too much. Like today's episode is a bit like a list. I didn't really know how to handle this.
No, it didn't come across it.
And I don't want to do a whole survivor sex abuse stuff.
Okay.
I don't mean anything by that. I just sort of, I'm not, it's not really my temperament to go there.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic book, actually, called You Made Me This Way, that I'd like to cover maybe as a bonus episode and sort of, I'll just do it solo, I think.
Yeah.
Because the guy who wrote that, he wrote another thing, 14, and he wrote some good stuff.
Right.
Yeah, Shannon Molloy, I think
Yes.
his name is. He's
Yes.
like a journo.
Yes.
He's gay.
Yes.
He's gay, married with a kid, I think.
Yeah, you know, when you were talking about that, conflating
It freaks me out, right? Because like it's sort of like I look at his story, for instance. You talking about conflating, getting the wires crossed on what I'm trying to say, and people sort of going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think that was almost, not almost. It was the era when I'm dealing with the solicitor too.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've touched on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
That.
Well, I don't want to be positioned, and I think what you were sort of saying, and the broader thing to say is that I hope that I'm not positioned as somehow counter to or in opposition to, because that would make me very upset. And so, like, you know, for instance, like a Shannon Molloy, I feel very uncomfortable about approaching certain people because I worry that they'll think I'm somehow, like, people will perceive me as, they'll perceive me incorrectly in that way.
Yeah.
I'm not worried that he would necessarily, but that people would, and make it sort of more difficult than it needs to be to, like, form connections with people.
Yeah. No. Well, I think you've explained that. I mean.
Yeah. I don't need to keep explaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your experiences speak for themselves for what they were.
Yeah.
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 It's still hard to process, though, isn't it? I mean, even though you've spent a lifetime being impacted.
Yeah, there's just
it's
there's just so much, and you're sort of like, oh, it's a lot.
yeah, it's what I said before. People sort of listen, but unless they've been touched by a similar experience, it is hard to believe.
Were you making a crude sex abuse joke there about being touched?
No, I wasn't. I didn't realise that as I said it, but
I knew you did.
There was
I knew
there
you
was a
did.
little flicker.
Poorly chosen word.
Poorly chosen word.
See, but that's the thing, is I still have a sense of humour. Like, I can't...
Yeah.
See, I can't not make that joke.
Yeah.
I can't not make the joke.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, like, that's why comedy's always been so important for me. It's like, God, you've got to laugh. It's so ridiculous. You know, and some people can't. Some people cannot laugh. And I also understand that. I understand why. Because it's just too hard.
But what I was trying to get at was, if you've never met a narcissistic person or encountered one...
There's plenty of stuff on the internet about it. I feel like, yeah, I know, yeah.
I think people have got to actually experience that, though. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Where you're dealing with someone who just can't get pinned down on the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough today. Yeah, we're going to do... I think the next book episode will be in a few weeks. Not next week, but a few weeks. We might take a look at some, like, mental health textbooks.
Yeah.
And talk about sort of like my diagnosis and that. And then we'll get to just like my story generally. Like the lighter stuff and the wackier stuff.
Yeah.
And get off this developmental, diagnostic, abuse, trauma train that we're on, which is a pretty depressing train to be on. All right, see you soon. Bye.